Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. I am so ready to get into this one. Today, we are stepping away from, the emotional roller coaster of the Six Nations tri-line cameras and looking strictly at the cold, hard numbers.
Yeah.
We are analyzing the World Rugby rankings that just dropped on February 15th, 2026. And let me tell you, if you thought the action on the pitch during round two was chaotic, wait until you see what it did to the spreadsheets.
It really is the perfect storm this week. I mean, usually rankings are a slow burn.
Oh, right, small shifts.
You see incremental changes.
Mm.
But this update, it's a case study in how the algorithm can be both incredibly precise and, frankly, absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
We were looking at a story of climbs, falls, and some really weird mathematical quirks.
Exactly. It is rankings roulette out there. And look, before we jump into the numbers, if you want to stay on top of the game, not just who won, but what it actually means, make sure you subscribe to Rugby Obsession right now.
Definitely.
You do not want to be the one person in your rugby circle who doesn't get why a team can win by 40 points and not move an inch.
That is the headline anomaly, isn't it? It's going to surprise a lot of people when we get to it.
It definitely caught me off guard. So let's set the scene. Round two of the Six Nations is in the books. The dust has settled. What's the view from the top?
Well, the summit itself is actually pretty calm, even if the slopes are incredibly slippery right now. The top 10 has been shaken up for the second week in a row, which is rare. But right at the very top, we have stasis. South Africa remains the undisputed number one with 93.94 points. And New Zealand is holding firm at number two with 90.33 points.
So the Southern Hemisphere giants are effectively sitting in the lounge, feet up, watching the chaos unfold in Europe. They're safe.
For now, they are untouchable. The gap is just too significant. But below them, it is incredibly volatile. We've seen France climb, England fall, and Scotland.
Scotland.
Well, Scotland is the most interesting math problem of the weekend. They missed a massive opportunity by the absolute slimmest of margins.
I want to spend some real time on that Scotland situation because the what if there is just mind-blowing. But let's start with that big shift in the top four. We have a new number three.
We do.
France has moved up, sitting on 88.40 points. Now, looking at the scoreboard, this makes total sense. They absolutely dismantled Wales. 54-12.
It was a comprehensive victory, a total return to form after that shaky start against Ireland.
I was reading the player ratings, and the descriptions were borderline poetic. Mathieu Jalibert was called the conductor of chaos.
A fitting title.
And Louis Bielbiry. The source said he treated Cardiff like his personal playground.
When you perform like that, you expect to be rewarded.
We do. It sounds like a masterclass that should send you rocketing up the table. But here is the aha moment, the key insight for everyone listening.
Go on.
Despite that massive scoreline, do you know how many rating points France actually earned for that win?
Logic suggests a healthy chunk, maybe half a point, something.
Cicero, 0.00. That is the part that is hard to wrap your head around. Explain that. How do you put 50 points on the board and get nothing?
It comes down to the core mechanic of the system. It's an exchange system, not a reward system like you'd find in a league table.
Right, so it's zero sum.
Exactly. And the system calculates an expected result based on the point difference between the two teams before kickoff. Because France was ranked so much higher, and this is crucial because they were playing at home, the bar was set incredibly high.
Why does playing at home matter for the math?
The system adds a 3-point handicap to the home team's rating before calculating anything. So the algorithm essentially said, France, you are at home, you're a top team, Wales is struggling, you are supposed to win this comfortably.
So when they did win comfortably, the computer just shrugged.
Precisely. The system viewed a 54-12 win as meeting expectations, not exceeding them. So no points were exchanged.
But, and here is the twist, France did move up. They're number three now. If they gain 0 points, how on earth did they overtake England?
That is entirely down to England. France didn't win the spot, England handed it to them. England fell to number 4, dropping to 87.71 points.
And that, of course, is the fallout from the Calcutta Cup.
It is. And this shows the other side of that sword. While France gained nothing for a big win, England lost a significant amount, 1.70 ranking points, for that loss to Scotland.
Wow.
When you're that high up, a loss to a lower-ranked side is expensive. That deduction was just enough to slide their total below France's frozen score.
It's brutal when you look at it that way. You win 54-12 and get nothing, but your rival loses, and that's the only reason you get a promotion.
Yep.
Speaking of England, the commentary around this drop is pretty scathing. I was reading Will Greenwood's take on it. He did not hold back.
No, he certainly didn't. and he usually tries to find a balance.
He described England as having been dumb and badly exposed. What struck me was his comment that Steve Borthwick's calls reaped zero reward. Usually that's a figure of speech.
But here, it's literally true. They lost equity. And Greenwood's analysis aligns with the math. The rankings punish dumb rugby if it leads to a loss against a lower-ranked team. The whole system just shifted, not because of who's winning points, but who's bleeding them.
Which brings us to the most fascinating what-if story of the weekend.
Scotland.
Scotland. They beat England. They have the Calcutta Cup. They moved up one spot to number 9 with 81.10 points. Sounds like a good weekend.
It was a good weekend, absolutely. But if you look at the raw data, it could have been, and perhaps should have been, historic. This is what we're calling the triple jump that wasn't.
I love this detail because it just highlights how sensitive this algorithm is. So walk us through this ghost scenario.
Right. So Scotland earned 1.78 points for the win. That pushed them past Italy. But the ranking system has a multiplier for the margin of victory.
Okay.
If you win by more than 15 points, the point exchange increases by 50%.
So there's a turbo button if you really hammer the other team.
Exactly. It rewards dominance. And for a huge part of that match, Scotland was on track to hit that margin. If they'd won by just a little bit more, they wouldn't have just moved to 9th.
Where would they have gone?
They would have jumped all the way from 10th to a record-high 7th place.
7th. That is massive territory for them. So they would jumped over Fiji and Australia.
Yes. In one single 80-minute performance, they would have leapfrogged Italy, Fiji, and Australia.
Yeah.
That changes everything. Your seeding conversations, the whole perception of the team.
So what happened? Why are they stuck at 9?
One name, Ben Earl.
Ben Earl.
Ben Earl scored a late try for England. It cut the deficit. Now, that score didn't change the result of the match. England still lost. But it changed the point exchange calculation.
Oh, no.
It brought the margin of victory down below the threshold for the big bonus. That one try stopped the triple jump.
That is wild. One try and a losing effort for England anchors Scotland at number 9 instead of 7th. It's like the butterfly effect in a spreadsheet.
It shows you how fine the margins are. You know, Gregor Townsend held his nerve for a master class, but there's some commentary saying it's a damning indictment of the side that they didn't win by more.
Because they left points on the table.
Exactly. In the world rankings, how you win matters. The critics are saying if you have England on the ropes, you have to put them away. Because they didn't, they're 9th. If they'd been more ruthless, they'd be 7th.
That gives a whole new layer to playing for 80 minutes. You're not just playing the clock, you're playing the algorithm.
Precisely.
It really can be cruel. And speaking of cruel math, we have to talk about Italy. But before we get to the heartbreak in Dublin, just a quick second. If you are enjoying this analysis of the numbers behind the game, if you love knowing Ben Earl's try cost Scotland 2 ranking spots, make sure to subscribe to Rugby Obsession. We do this every week.
So Italy.
Yeah, Italy. They fell back to number 10, sitting at 79.81 points. And this feels harsh because the narrative coming into this was huge. They had their tails up after that win in Rome.
It was. They went to the Aviva with a lot of confidence. And to be fair, they put up a brave fight. Losing 13-20 to Ireland in Dublin is nothing to be ashamed of.
No, absolutely not. That's a tight game. But a loss is a loss. Did they bleed points?
Well, actually, this is interesting. Italy didn't lose any points for this match.
Wait, really?
Again, it's the ranking mechanics. Because Ireland is ranked so much higher, number 5, and was at home, the system said Ireland should win.
Right, the expectation factor.
So Italy losing by just 7 points doesn't actually trigger a deduction. It was seen as the expected outcome. They stayed at 79.81.
So if they didn't lose points, why did they drop to 10th?
Because Scotland went up. It's the seesaw. Italy stood still, but Scotland jumped over them. It's not that Italy got worse, it's that the floor moved beneath them.
That's that rankings roulette again. You can play well, lose narrowly, stay on the same points, and still get demoted. So let's flip it to Ireland. They're at number 5, 86.81 points. They won. Did they move?
No movement. And no points gained. A plus 0.00.
Man, the system is stingy this week. Ireland wins a tough game and gets nothing.
It's expectations again. Ireland at home against Italy. The algorithm says, you must win this. So when they do, there is no reward. And frankly, looking at the performance notes, maybe that's fair. The source described Ireland's effort as lackluster.
Yeah, I saw that. Lackluster and a struggling scrum. It wasn't vintage Ireland.
Contrast that with Italy's performance, which was called threatening. It seems like the rankings, by giving Ireland 0 points, sort of accidentally reflected the mood of the match. Ireland got the win, but they didn't enhance their reputation. They just held serve.
It effectively says, you did the bare minimum. Now, we've been very Six Nations focused, obviously, but let's look a bit wider. Georgia.
Ah, Georgia. Always an interesting case study. They're ranked number 13 right now.
And they had a monster weekend. A 61-12 win over the Netherlands. Surely a win like that gets you something.
You would think so. You'd hope so. But no. Like France, they gained 0 rating points due to the massive ranking gap.
Wow. It's tough at the top, but it seems even tougher in the middle. You smash a team by 50 points and the computer just shrugs.
It highlights the structural difficulty for teams like Georgia. It's the glass ceiling of World Rugby. If you're only playing teams ranked way below you, you simply cannot generate upward momentum. You are running on a treadmill.
Speaking of Georgia, there's a bit of other news surrounding them in our sources. About the coaching staff.
That's right, Richard Cockrell. There's an exclusive mention about his dismissal as the Georgia boss.
Yeah, and he's making a tweet of World Rugby about contract clauses. Sounds messy behind the scenes, even while the team is putting up 60 points.
It just adds another layer of complexity to that number 13 ranking. You need stability off the pitch to climb on it.
Absolutely. Now, looking at the broader landscape, there are a few other headlines that caught my eye. Eddie Jones is making noise again.
Isn't he always? But this is interesting. He's got a theory that the Springboks, our number ones, might be peaking too soon.
Peaking too soon. They're on top of the world.
That's his point. But he also warned about something else, a potential World Rugby disruption law. He thinks there might be rule changes coming that are designed to depower the box.
That is classic Eddie Jones.
It is, but it's worth watching. Laws change rankings. Just look at Nigel Owens' comments this week.
The legendary ref. What's he worried about?
He's warning about the Super Rugby law trials. He thinks they could lead to inconsistent calls and, worryingly, actually start rewarding negative acts.
And if you have inconsistent calls?
You have inconsistent results. And then these rankings we are obsessing over go completely haywire. Everything is connected.
So let's recap the state of the world as of February 15th.
The big picture is this. France is up to 3rd, but only because England stumbled. England is down to 4th after a tough, punishing loss.
And Scotland.
Scotland moved up to 9th, which is great, but they will be kicking themselves because they missed a historic chance to be 7th because of one late try.
While Italy fell back to 10th, despite being brave, just because Scotland jumped over them.
And all the while, South Africa and New Zealand are just chilling at 1 and 2, watching the chaos below.
It really makes you think, does the system fairly reflect current form, or is it just a mathematical legacy that protects the top?
That's the big question.
And that is exactly what I want to ask you, the listener. Do you think the ranking system is fair, especially when France puts 54 points on Wales and doesn't move an inch mathematically? And what did you make of that Calcutta Cup result? Was it an England failure or a Scotland masterclass?
Or both.
Or both. We want to hear from you. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
Definitely. It's always great to see how the fans interpret these shifts compared to how the calculator does.
And look, if you want to keep up with the algorithm and the drama, this is your last reminder for today. Subscribe to Rugby Obsession. We are here to make sense of the madness.
There's always more madness coming.
Always. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.